Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, the 23rd of October, and I would like to open and call to order our meeting, Human Resources, Admin and Public Relations. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, the 23rd of October, and I would like to open and call to order our meeting, Human Resources, Admin and Public Relations. Good morning, everybody.
We won't watch you, so you don't get all excited.
Want me to start it all again?
Can everybody hear us okay now?
Had my birthday in Rome, better than what I did last year.
Ryan's nodding his head.
100%.
I'm back on live.
It's good
Okay,
now.
All
Good
right.
here.
Okay, let's apologize for that little hiccup there. We were duplicating messages all over the place. Before we continue, I'd like to do our land acknowledgement. And basically we are stating and acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people, specifically the Matawaskerini, which means people of the Madawaska River. We further acknowledge that the Algonquin people have been stewards of this land since time immemorial, and we strive to treat the land along with the flora and fauna that it supports, the people, their customs and traditions with honor and respect. Today, this area is home to people of all walks of life, and we acknowledge the shared opportunities and responsibilities to live, work and survive within this beautiful territory. Chimigwich, all my relations. Before we continue, are there any additions or amendments to the published agenda? None noted. Can I have someone adopt the agenda, please?
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. That's Councillor Florent.
I'll second.
and councillor Kuyak to second the adoption of the agenda. Thank you. Is there anyone here that wishes to disclose a pecuniary interest? None noted. Thank you. And we go on to part 6 of our agenda here, which is presentations and delegations. Michael Wildman and David Reid from Wayfinders. Our strategic plan preliminary findings, please. Over to you, sir.
Good morning and thank you. My name is Michael Wildman and I'm here with David Reid. Before we begin, I know that council all met David, you didn't meet me, and staff all met me and didn't meet David. So a really quick introduction. David Reid is a partner of mine. He was at one time a 2-time mayor, and he is a professional engineer. So he's quite a good expert in things like public works and the likes. And he is also was one of the, I would say, the leaders of the revitalization project in Arnprior, and has a great deal of experience in land development. Myself, Michael Wildman, I'm a former CAO and former member of the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario Board of Directors. My background is planning and engineering. And we do about 3 main tasks for clients, and one of those is strategic planning. The other 2 are efficiency reviews and organizational reviews, and you'll find that there's some crossover in topics, even today when we get into discussion between those 3 topics. So as a team, what we do, and you know this, is we interview the stakeholders, council, staff, and others. And then we also do something I think that positions us a little different because of the efficiency reviews we do. We get into things like data mining to get some evidence about what we've heard. And we'll show you a bit of that as we move on through today. So with that, I'm wondering, Brian, would it be possible for me to share my screen just because then I can toggle between a few different documents if I need to?
Tracy, you should be able to make Michael co-host, I believe.
Yeah. Should have access now, Michael.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just want to make sure everybody can see that. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as I alluded to, we're going to be talking about your strategic plan, and it's really the preliminary findings and a bit of a council workshop. And by that, we mean we're going to be presenting you with what we've heard so far and sort of tapping into council to see if there's anything that you would like to see differently or something maybe that has been not characterized accurately. We want to hear back from you to see if there's anything that you have concerns about or would like to see changed. So this is just preliminary. We will be back to you towards the end of this process with the final draft. And again, you'll have one last look at that. So there's some time to work things out. So as some background, we know that strategic plans, they establish the priorities of municipalities to focus on and to allocate the resources to achieve their short, medium, and long-term goals and visions. And they ensure that the challenges and goals are carefully identified by key stakeholders, and a plan is put in place to respond. By adopting and embracing a strategic plan, municipalities are better positioned for success. And a strategic plan should be adopted as early into the new term of council to leverage the clarity that it will offer over the 4-year term. So you're in perfect timing here, council. You've established yourself and now you're stating your goals. And in August of this year, council directed that a term of council strategic plan be prepared, which is the purpose today to talk about. So consultation is the core of any good planning document. And in September, members of council and senior management team were consulted about that strategic plan content. And based on feedback from those consultations, a brief online survey was posted in October to solicit high-level community input. The online survey was posted on the website and noted at various opportunities, and it was also placed at various municipalities and sent out to some groups as well to have some responses. The survey was live. It is now closed as of Friday. And I just highlight this. As of Friday, we were at about 89 or 90 some odd responses, and those numbers have gone up slightly. Consultations, council was interviewed by David Reed, a former mayor, and staff was interviewed by myself, a former CAO. And participants were asked a broad series of municipal questions, as well as targeted questions about the mission, the vision, core values, key priorities, and action items. This workshop includes a synthesis of the predominant themes collected during those interviews. So it won't be a word for word summary. It'll be a synthesized version of that. So when it comes to the research, in addition to the consultations, our firm conducted data mining to gain evidence-based background information. So we look at a number of data sources. These include your 2022 FIR data, Municipal Finance Officers of Ontario financial indicators, the 2023 OMPF data, and 2021 census data. And we have a series of tables if council is interested later to look at those. The key takeaways from the data. We believe that the township is in relatively strong position, and I'll show you something that will help visualize that in a moment. The township does receive a higher than average OMPF grant, which is helpful. The median household income is about 10,000 less than the comparator average of 71. So you're sitting at about 61 at your median household income. Residential taxes are about 17% lower than the average of the comparators we analyzed. Township expenses are higher than average of comparators, and there may be a number of reasons for that. Total expenses for household closely matches the average of comparators. And one area that we noted is the total waste collection expenses per household is almost double the average of your comparators, sitting at 370 versus 200. I mentioned the good financial position that the township sits in. This comes from the Municipal Finance Officers of Ontario. You can see a number of financial indicators that they look at to identify just how well a municipality is doing. And frankly, it's quite rare you can see the column that's highlighted in green. It's quite rare. In fact, I think I've only seen it once where they've all been green before. Normally we'll see a mix of green, yellow in the moderate, and red in the high. So you should be commended, council, for being in that position. You're financially, we're doing quite well. And this is part of the data mining that we do. It's certainly not all of it, but it is some of it. I'm going to switch views for a moment, council, just to show you some of the information that we learned from the online survey. So if you can bear with me one moment. Okay, we're back, council. This is your the findings of the survey. The latest printout is 97, so you can see when I prepared the document and sent it over to Brian, it was slightly less. But this is a good rate of return for this type of exercise, given the size of your community. And I won't spend a great deal of time on this, but I will show you some key points that are worth thinking about as you move forward. So we didn't have any skipped responses, which is great. We did have a few that were handed in hard copy, which are not included in this. I think there was about 6 or 7 of those. The data analytics show here that there's a high majority of the people who rent or own, but a great number of people, almost 30%, that own vacation properties here. So you can see that there's some good numbers to sort of consider, sitting at almost 70% for rent or own and almost 30% for vacation, and then a mix of people who either work in, have a business, or own vacant land. Age, initially we were seeing higher numbers in the rate of response in the sort of mid group at around 45 to 54, but as you can see, as the survey progressed, we saw a higher number of people in the age group of 55 and up, essentially. Number of people in the household, the number 2 is by far the highest number. And a fair amount of the people that responded actually do not reside permanently within the municipality, as we saw earlier with the 30%. When it comes to finding it easy to access township staff when seeking assistance, you got very good responses. You're really sitting at quite a high number of people who are agree that it's easy to access or strongly agree, which is a very good rate of return here. We're looking, over 90%. That's really good, and a very low percentage of people who disagree and none who strongly disagree. So again, council, you should be pleased with that response. When it comes to sharing information about the community and programs and services, a bit of a mix here, sitting at about a little over 40% who feel that they don't quite get enough information, and about a little over the mid 50s who do. So a bit of a mix there, something that could be worked on. When we see those types of numbers, we say there's an opportunity there. When looking for information on the township's website, this is an important one because as in this day and age, websites tend to provide a lot of information to your clients, especially in areas where there's a certain remoteness. So it's a mix again. We're finding some people do use the website, some people use it a little bit, and some not at all. So that again is another opportunity to leverage the website and get the word out on the website. And when it comes to using the website, basically what you're hearing is most people find it either easier or neither easier nor difficult. So basically they're indifferent on it, meaning that they don't have any complaints, and a low number do find it difficult. But really those numbers on the positive side are quite good as well. Are you aware that you can view council meetings via Zoom or YouTube? A high number do recognize that, over 60%, but a reasonably high number are not aware. So there might be some opportunity to get that word out as well. The question of housing has been a very, very dominant theme that we heard both with council and with staff, and it tends to be a fairly dominant theme with the community as well. So you have about 45% of the people feel that lack of housing is impeding the township's economic growth. We have some people who are neither agree nor disagree. That tends to mean in this type of question they're not sure or they're indifferent. So I would lean towards the agree answer there. What should the township's top priorities be over the next 5 years? Please rank. These came in pretty close, and we tend to see very similar responses. I'm just going to drop down to the words below, council, just to allow you to see. The scoring is on the far right column, and you can see that 3 of them landed very, very close together. So what we're hearing is that the one that ranked the highest was investment towards municipal infrastructure renewal projects. These are things like repairing or improving roads, sidewalks, buildings, other facilities and parks. But very close behind, and almost exactly the same, if you will, the housing strategy to build more new homes and economic development and tourism pretty much sit at the same level. And then expanding the recreation or cultural programming within the township came in fourth. And we typically see these softer services do rank lower. So you shouldn't be surprised to hear that. There are enough local programs to support seniors at home. A low number agree. Over 50% are unsure or undecided, or neither agree or disagree, and a fairly high number, getting close to 30%, disagree. So again, another opportunity to consider, and it did come up in our interviews as well, Council. How would you rate the conditions of roads? This is quite a good response. You're well over 70% for average, and average is what you would want to see. And above average, you're seeing a fairly good number there, and only about 13 or so percent below average. So that is a fairly good rating as well. How would you rate the winter plowing operations? These did quite well as well. When you combine above average and average, you're sitting well over the 80% mark, which is quite good. Below average, sitting a little over 15%. So these are good ratings. These are ratings we would say are on the higher end. Would you support alternate methods of delivering garbage services, such as collecting less frequently to keep costs and fees more manageable? A bit of a split here, but leaning a little higher on the side that would definitely would support would probably support making a change there, but the numbers are quite close, and we see this a lot. Council, you usually see about a split, slightly higher on the ones who would support. Would you support a moderate increase in taxes and user fees above the rate of inflation if it resulted in noticeable improvements to municipal services and infrastructure? This is a very standard response. We see usually about a 60-40 split or something along that lines. It does run a bit counter to wanting to invest into road repair and building repair or any other new programs. So it's one we always ask. We've seen a few where it's 50-50, but it tends to be a lot like what we're seeing here. But as I said earlier, it does run a bit counter to wanting to see more investment into the community. This one came up in interviews. So the question is are there enough boat launches within the municipality? A little over 50% agree. A little less than 40% are unsure or neutral, and about 10% disagree. Parking is adequate at boat launches within the township. A little over 40% agree. About 36%, I believe, are neutral, and about 21 or 22% disagree. I will caution as we get these responses, we're talking 100 responses here. It's helpful to help council make some considerations, but this is not a comprehensive scientific survey. It is one to just give you some food for thought. This was one we were glad to see coming back as strongly as it did. This is a question about should the municipality go in the direction of a pay-as-you-go model. And basically the question is adopting a 5-year financial plan to help keep taxes and fees more manageable by saving the funds. So that's the pay-as-you-go portion for large expenditures and spreading those expenditures out over several years. And do you prefer this over borrowing to accelerate expenditures? So this is really a resounding yes. We support the pay-as-you-go model, and I would say you're not far off of that in some of your policies and where you seem to be heading. In general, I would describe my overall level of satisfaction with township services. This is a pretty good response as well when you look at the satisfied and neutral responses and a very low dissatisfied level. So again, very good responses. That is a survey, council. It helps you sort of consider a few things as we move now through the what we heard portion of the presentation. So if you'll just bear with me. Okay, council. So when it comes to the common themes, common themes can be thought of as sort of the headings, if you will, of some of the topics that would probably find their way into your plan. So these are the predominant things we heard in the groupings. And it's nice to know that when we spoke with council and when we spoke with staff, that these were done independent of each other, and the headings still appear to be the same. So that's good news. Common themes help inform your key priorities and your action items. Key priorities are the most important topics of things to accomplish. And these might be things like, as we heard here, housing or infrastructure investment. So these would be sort of your main topics. And action items are the critical steps that you would take to accomplish those key priorities. So if you were thinking about infrastructure investment as your key priority, one action item could be repair 6 kilometers of road per year. I'm not saying this necessarily is applicable to South Algonquin. I'm just saying it would be an example of an action item. And we have arranged the feedback collected in common themes that could be used as your key priorities to make it easier for you. So your first common theme that we identified was asset management. And as we go through these slides, I'm going to slow down a bit and stop at the end of each common theme to see if there's any questions. So when we think of asset management, here are a few of the things we heard. We heard that a strategy to repair paved surfaces by 2020 and some specific roads named Major Lake, Cave Creek, Nipissing, Churchill Drive. Implement drainage improvements. So these would be culvert conversions to HDP and ditching by 2026. Implement a re-gravel program by 2027. So you can see there's a structured approach to your infrastructure needs. Continuing on with asset management, renovate the Whitney Hall fire hall. Replace the Whitney pumper. This is the 1996 pumper. I would say that your chief is very amenable to replacement, not necessarily new, but with used, provided that it meets the standards that it needs to meet, which is a very, I would say, innovative and responsible way of proceeding. Replace the Madawaska mini pumper, also, getting of that same era and needing replacement soon. So I will stop at asset management and just ask, does council have any questions about those items that appear in there?
No, none noted here.
Okay. So if we move to your common theme number 2, that's a heading that we've called master planning. So it's the master planned approach. So update the comprehensive zoning bylaw, which is something that's high on staff's agenda. We know that, and it's something that will be very helpful to you moving forward. Implement better monitoring and planning of your landfill sites. This is both for should there need to be an expansion or for the long-term plans for closure. This is very important, and we find with many of our clients, this is one where it starts to slip and it sort of gets pushed off to the side, and then all of a sudden when an expansion or a closure happens, they realize that they may not have the right plans or tools in place to do so. We think this is a very wise thing to do, and we agree with that recommendation. Adopt and implement a vehicles and equipment replacement plan. One of the things we find with a lot of our clients is when you crunch the numbers, sometimes keeping vehicles on the road for an extended period of time seems like the right thing to do. But as the vehicle ages, the replacement costs go up, and therefore the cost of maintaining the vehicle actually becomes more expensive than should you replace it on a cycle. And we've shown this to a lot of our clients, and sometimes they're a little surprised to learn that there is a sort of a line of diminishing returns. And so we recommend that you have something like that in place. ultimately, you can decide to defer by a year or two if the vehicle is still, roadworthy and functioning quite well. But having a plan in place allows you to plan from a budgeting and long-term capital investment standpoint. Forming strategic partnerships with Algonquin Park, the business community, the Algonquins, the mills, and local schools were all identified as things that could be collaterally beneficial to the township and those groups we just mentioned. One example that I can think of offhand is the busing for students after school hours, should they want to be involved in other activities. Finding some sort of a mutually beneficial program may be helpful there. Continuing on with master planning, developing a strategy to increase high-speed internet and improve cell coverage. We have a lot of northern clients and rural clients. They have all started to point themselves in this direction. It's an important piece of keeping your community vibrant and connected. Tracking service requests, leveraging data to improve service delivery. So this is really important. If you do track your service requests, you can see where your hot buttons are, where you're achieving some of your goals and where you may not be achieving your goals. So using that service request information to inform your decisions about where you allocate your resources, perhaps where you fund certain programming, and where you don't fund certain programming could also be helpful. And then keeping on that theme, reporting annually on your master plans and strategies. It's very important, for example, for this strategic plan to report on it annually. We recommend that be done around budget time so that council has a good sense of, how well they're doing with their strategic plan. Are there things that aren't going as well as they had hoped? Is there a need to fund something and maybe defund or lower funding on another program that's doing well? This annual reporting allows you to stay on top of things. So with respect to master planning, these are the items. Does council have any questions or comments on these? Okay. So we'll move to common theme number 3, which is human resources. So the action items that were identified along the way are implement a professional development program for council and staff. When David was mayor and I was the CAO through him, he felt strongly that council needs to be aware of things like statute and things that are going on, and having access to appropriate training and best practices is very beneficial for council decision making, but also for staff to make sure that they have the sort of the cutting edge training to make sure that they deliver the services the council expects of them in a manner that is efficient. Implement a succession plan strategy. This is very important. We see this as an issue, especially with small municipalities with a small staff complement. A departure of 1 or 2 staff members at a given time or within a window of time can be very, very difficult to manage. You lose a lot of corporate memory, and there's a lot of sort of retraining involved. So having a strategy in place can be very, very helpful. Undertake an organizational review in conjunction with a service delivery review. So when it comes to human resources, understanding whether you have the right organization to deliver your services is very important. And this doesn't mean you need more staff necessarily, but it may mean that certain staff need to have the right elements within their job descriptions to ensure that they're responsible for aspects of service delivery. It can sometimes mean that you need an additional body, but not always, especially with the smaller municipalities. I'll get to the service delivery review in a moment in another heading, so you can see how we'll tie that together in a moment. Fill the vacant deputy clerk position. We're suggesting that be done, but we've added the brackets after an organizational review, assuming that council is supportive of that. That way, the job description for the deputy clerk would be reflective of what council's wants to see in an organizational review. So if there are changes in duties to the deputy clerk position, and getting those dealt with before posting it, that would be helpful. And the final one is develop a recruitment strategy to attract young firefighters. We see this with all of our clients that have volunteer departments or hybrid departments. Very difficult to attract the young firefighters. There are some municipalities who've been successful at adopting certain strategies that have been very helpful to bring in new firefighters. And so having one that's built on sort of the strategies we see across the provinces would be very helpful and would shore up your department. So with respect to human resources, these are the action items that were identified. So I'll stop here and ask, does council have any questions or comments at this point?
Since the average age in our township is 57 years old, how would you suggest we attract younger firefighters? There are none.
That's a very good point. I don't know if it is the actual average age, but I may be able to confirm that for you. But let's say it is. That is a very interesting aspect that needs to be looked at. And what is it that would attract young firefighters? There are some municipalities that go with a different type of honorarium that is helpful to the younger guys, and it brings them in. As you know, like I had the highest regard for the firefighters because I find that their commitment to their community is is top notch. They volunteer their time after they go to work to go in and train and respond to events at all hours. They're not necessarily in a lot of communities compensated very well, and they don't care, many of them. But what we're seeing is there's been a change over the last few years with the requirements for training, the needing to meet what's known as the NFPA training standards. It's a lot more rigorous, and having some compensation for that effort that goes into that. We've seen some municipalities be successful at that. I'm not saying paying a full wage, but having better compensation programs for that seems to be helpful with the younger ones who tend to be on the lower end of salaries anyways. So what we're seeing is that may be one of those helpful things.
Zethel?
Go ahead, Matt.
Good morning, everyone.
Do I
just
know
wanna
any
make-
other ones?
Hello,
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to comment about the recruitment strategy to attract younger firefighters. I'm just going back to Councilor Florence's comment. I think we have a bigger problem in terms of trying to get housing and trying to bring our young people home. And I think that we can look at all the recruitment strategies we want, but up until we can get people back into the township and back into jobs here, I think a whole recruitment strategy is going to become really, really, really difficult. So I agree that we should try to form a strategy. I don't even know that the wages and that is the problem right here. I'm just looking back over the township and looking at who might be younger that may want to join the township fire department. So those are just my comments about it.
Yes, and those are very good comments, Madam Mayor. I think there's a sort of I think if you look at it, your comments regarding housing and jobs, I think they all sort of coexist together. If you do have a better housing initiative that can help bring more homes, that may attract younger people, that may bring more younger firefighters and better jobs. So I think they all sort of coexist together, and there's a certain synergy that would exist. So I agree with you. I think all of those go almost together. Are there any other questions on the human resources? Okay. So the next heading, and we always see this one, finance. Without money, pretty hard to run a municipality. So Implement an asset management financial plan in the budget. So you have an asset management plan, and dovetailing now that into your budget needs to be sort of more intuitive and run right into it. And it's very helpful for things like longer term planning. Making sure that you stay on track. And from what I understand, there are certain requirements that have to be met by 2025 in terms of what is included in your asset management plan. And from what I understand from Brian, you're making good headway in that regard. Making sure that you achieve that is going to be critical. Implement a long-range capital forecast. So this is a 10-year financial plan. You'll recall in the survey, we asked that question. Making sure then that you harmonize that with all your master plans. So this would include things like your asset management plan, but potentially your strategic plan as well. Making sure that they all talk to one another, that they're not in conflict with one another. These become very, very useful tools for your treasury staff, but also council for their decision making. Implement a strategy to increase reserves. Again, this is picking up on that very resounding 90+% that we heard in the survey for a pay-as-you-go. That's so the more you contribute to reserves, the more you build an ability to pay along the way rather than borrowing. And it's not that you can't ever borrow. Like there's no pay-as-you-go program that doesn't ever borrow, but that is kind of put down as your lowest choice. And short-term borrowing becomes preferred over long-term borrowing. But it's not that you can't borrow. It's just that you try as best you can to fund your reserves, which then fund your programs. I'm sorry?
No, it was just some background noise.
Okay, sorry. And then separating your operating and capital budgets. This is a recommendation, and we agree with that, just so you can more clearly see where your operating dollars and your capital dollars are going with. February council budget approval timeline. That is one that I've always agreed is probably the most useful one for a number of reasons. I will say that some municipalities try to approve budget even in December. And while that is relatively common, it does not necessarily give council provide them with the most up-to-date expenditures in the year, because usually you get some late expenditures in late December or even January, especially from like the likes of hydro and what have you. So bringing a budget to council in January and then having it approved in February then allows you to go out to tender early. By going out to tender early, you then get better prices usually. And in addition, it helps staff to really know what does council expect throughout the course of the year. We do have some municipalities that we see very late in the year, and they do end up paying a lot more in their tendering when they go that late in the year. So setting a sort of a hard stop in February for council budget approval, we recommend. Consider implementing multi-year budgets. We do have some municipalities who do that. They are helpful for longer term thinking. And certainly considering your comfort level around that and having your staff bring a report to you to explain the benefits and perhaps some of the cons of doing that to you so that you can better appreciate that. We think that's a good idea. Implement a grant monitoring and acquisition strategy. So we find that some municipalities are good at monitoring grants that come up. And we find that some municipalities are not. We also find, though, that, and this is probably a worse issue, is that some municipalities monitor their grants and apply for everything. Whether there's something that is in their strategic plan or their asset management plan or in their budget, they apply anyways. That ends up pulling money away from your priorities that may be in your asset management plan or in your strategic plan. So by having a grant monitoring and an acquisition strategy that council establishes, that will provide a lot more guidance to staff in terms of what they what they monitor and what they go after on behalf of council. It doesn't mean that you ignore ones that might come up that may have a benefit, but it prioritizes things. You have a financial software that's coming, and so ensuring that you have a thought out rollout of how that strategy to implement that software is important. We do have some clients that have gotten new software and they didn't have a strategy and they sort of got bogged down in the weeds. And so working to develop that rollout is important. So that is the finance side of things, Council. I'll pause here and see if there are any questions. Okay.
I have one question, sorry.
Sure.
I do believe that the human resources and finance should be a little bit more tied in. We should ensure that our staff are still sitting at the correct rate of pay for their job. We can't allow ourselves to fall behind. That has happened a few years ago. So I think monitoring with regards to finance and HR and the job market, I think is incredibly important to keep the staff that we wish to keep.
Couldn't agree with you more. And we would see that being rolled into your organizational review. So once you've done your organization, going through the rating process to see how you match externally and also how you match internally for pay equity purposes. That is so important for smaller municipalities that are more remote, because losing a staff member because competition maybe is pulling one way or the other can be really problematic. So I would 100% agree with that. And we would see that forming part of the organizational review as the second step to that. So we certainly agree with that. And we can provide some clarity around that as well moving forward. Any other comments or questions?
I have a comment about your survey. The trouble with surveys, and all of them, not just specifically the one that we've just finished that you put out, is that you only get answers to the questions you ask.
True. Especially
the online portion where there's no ability to write in comments or suggestions. I suppose on the paper copy, but you admit that we only received a half a dozen paper copies. You could always write in a personal comment or a suggestion, but
yeah, we agree.
My point is, we may not be getting the true feelings of even the participants. We only get answers to the questions you ask.
Yes, and I agree with that. And that's the sort of the double-edged sword to a survey, which is why we always say it's 100 people in this case who were asked 16 questions. And you're right, you get answers to those questions. The questions that we put into the survey are usually built on what we hear from council and staff. But you're right, you have to balance that. You have to consider that, yes, we got answers from 100 people roughly on these questions and only those questions. The only other way to go is by going wide with like a public meeting and doing an exercise almost similar to what we did with council and staff. And certainly that is sometimes chosen, but it can be a fairly involved ordeal to get all those answers. But 100% agree, and council should think about that as part of the decision making on this. That it is a perspective in limited amounts.
I just want to add to that. Certainly we would hope that the input that council has done would somewhat reflect the constituents, the residents of the community, because they're boots on the ground. They're hearing from their neighbors and members of the community what they feel are the priorities, specifically over the last year. And we would hope that we have heard some of that from council and from staff as well.
Yes, and I will admit, David, that you allowed quite a bit of leeway, at least in the interview you did with myself, it was pretty far ranging. I could pretty well suggest anything I wanted to. It wasn't defined to 16 questions.
Right.
And also, Counselor, the same applies to the staff interviews. While we have questions to ask, we always sort of start by saying, you take us where you think we need to go. And so that was very helpful as well. Okay. So the next theme is service delivery. So this is where we'll connect the dots with the organizational review. So conducting a service delivery review in conjunction with an organizational review to ensure that the core services are delivered efficiently and that you're properly resourced. So some municipalities will do a service delivery review. Some municipalities may do an organizational review. I would say the ones who get the most bang for their buck are the ones who combine them, because then you understand where you want to go, what council's decisions are from a services standpoint, what the core services that council wants to see the effort put to, and then you can organize yourself and put the correct effort into job descriptions and future hiring to make sure that you're best positioned to do that. And as part of, as I said earlier, as part of that organizational review, when job descriptions change, you have a statutory responsibility to update them under pay equity. But you should do that anyways, because it gets the best sort of return on your investment there. So we think these two go hand in hand. We think they're very important to do. And we think you need to look at services beyond the financial. So some service delivery consultants tend to focus more on sort of the financial world. Very important aspect, but there's a lot of other services that council provides that are very important to both council and the residents that need to be looked at. And that's the practical side of things. You know, how you assign fleet, how many fleet vehicles make the most sense, you know, what services you provide and where the breakpoints are in the services as you provide them. So it's more than a financial exercise because you want to do that efficiently as well. And when you're efficient, you free up capacity to do other things. And you also usually save money. Transition to a committee of a whole model for efficiencies. So this came up in the sense of being more efficient with staff time to support council's efforts. The committee of the whole model, I know council's aware of this. This is pretty much the most common model you see across the province, especially with smaller and mid-sized municipalities. So when you have multiple committees, you spend, each time you have a committee, you have a level of effort that goes into preparing for that committee. There's a level of effort and attendance that goes into actually holding the committee. And then there's the postmortem for that committee. So every time, say, for example, there were, and I'm just throwing out a number here, I've seen municipalities with 10, 12 committees out there. Each time you do that, that pulls resources and pulls time of council into sort of deficiency, if you will, because other things fall off. So what we see a lot of municipalities gravitating to more and more is the committee of the whole model, where you take those other committees and you embed them as subcommittees within your committee of the whole. So as an example, today we're at the Human Resources Committee. So your committee of the whole meeting would be held and you would have a section in the agenda that would have human resources, and you might have a counselor who would chair that portion. They would be responsible for chairing that portion. And then you would move down to the next heading. And as an example, you often see operations or public works, and you might have a different council member who's heading that portion of the meeting. The benefit is you hold it all together. You have one meeting, you have one preparation for the meeting, you have one postmortem for the meeting, and one set of action items for that one meeting. So there are efficiencies gained and time gained. So we're seeing a lot of municipalities moving in that direction. And so we're recommending that be considered.
8-hour meetings. Yeah, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think we'd end up having 7 or 8-hour meetings. Impossible to prepare for that wide of a topic at one sitting. I think the method that we're using now is far better for us.
Okay, well, we will poll council at the end. This is one where we've heard that there's a concern, so we will poll council just at the end to see where you're at with that
We
one.
heard that from staff, not from council.
Well, yes, I certainly heard it from staff. David, do you have any comments?
It came up. It wasn't a topic that was discussed in any length. But you know, this is the committee of the whole model is used by probably half the municipalities in Ontario, and the meetings don't get really any longer than a council meeting. So it's how they're managed. You still need good, succinct reports to come into the committee of the whole model from the various committees that form part of it, and they move along fairly well. But it's how they're set up. But certainly a common model, and one that works very well, and one that includes the whole of council in their decision making, which I believe is important as well. So.
All of our committees consist of all of council anyway, so it's redundant.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we'll come back to that towards the end just to see where council is on that one. The next one on the list is developing a communication strategy. We saw in the survey, and we did hear actually from both staff and council that ensuring that we're communicating the right information outward would be helpful. And there are a lot of different opportunities that are there. One example is the community corner in the local newspaper, but there are a lot of opportunities there to increase engagement. So with that, we do recommend that. Developing a roadmap to services so that it's clear how residents can access services so that they're not sort of trapped in a bit of a vacuum trying to figure that out. We find a lot of municipalities put some effort into this, and there's a good rate of satisfaction afterwards. And it does dovetail with the communication strategy fairly well. So knowing where you have to go, understanding what the township does versus perhaps what another service provider does for them as well, and who to go to at that point can be very, very helpful. Updating your establishing and regulating bylaw, which is a bylaw for your fire department, to be clear on what services the municipality will deliver and how. Very helpful tool to have. And if it hasn't been updated in a while, it's always good for council to revisit that and see what's in there and make sure they're comfortable with what's in there. David, I'm going to ask you to just touch on the recycling transition and diversion. You did some of the data mining on that.
Yeah, as you may or may not be aware, the province has undertaken moving every municipality that had a recycling program, and the producers are taking over the recycling program in Ontario. So, and that includes the pickup of the recycling, the transferring of the recycling, and the processing. That is being phased in starting in 2023, and it included everyone that had a recycling program in place. Unfortunately, South Algonquin just instituted their recycling program in 2022, and we're picked up in the initial uptake of the transition. Brian, I know, has reached out to the province, and I think he got some assurances back that they will be at some point. So we just wanted to make sure that you pursue that and you continue to pursue that, because that is basically taking the entire financial responsibility away from the municipalities, and the producers will be looking after that, which is certainly a benefit for all municipalities. So that's what that's related to.
Okay. And there's some good opportunity there for the municipality financially. I'll ask David for you to touch on the next one as well.
Okay, this is this came up a little bit with my discussions with council, and I know you provide a very good service, and it's a service that probably is more comprehensive than a lot of municipalities, particularly municipalities of south Algonquin size. And I'm not suggesting you need to change what you're doing, but there is a fairly significant cost that you have now with in terms of garbage collection. So the suggestion is that you revisit it and look at the service levels, and maybe look at alternate ways of providing garbage collection services that may be more efficient and financially better for the municipality, while still maintaining good service. So that's what that's related to.
And just to be clear on what David said, we're not saying it has to change. We're just suggesting the council may wish to revisit it, look at what it entails, and consider whether that's where they want to remain or whether they do want to make any changes whatsoever. Pursue opportunities to increase capacity of boat launches. We heard a lot about boat launches, actually, both with staff and council, and some of the feedback we heard was that there's insufficient parking. Some of the feedback we heard that maybe we don't have enough boat launches. So we thought that pursuing opportunities to increase a capacity of boat launches is a good sort of middle ground to see, are the existing boat launches sufficient, but need additional capacity at them, be it parking or something else, or is there something else that has to be done? So looking at the opportunities and seeing where that takes you. On service delivery, that is the end. Just pause here, see if council has any additional feedback.
Have you got another window or another heading for recreational services?
That could very well fall into this category, Councillor. Is there something you'd like us to consider?
Well, our recreation committees, and we have two of them, seem to sit very much on their own. They do their own fundraising, they do their own issues, and I think they need support to improve and make recreation more important within the township. That may just be a personal thing of mine, but I do believe we have capacity to increase recreation within the township, but I'm not sure the two committees have the capacity to do that on their own. Okay. So it's just something that I think should be more important within our service delivery to our townsfolk, especially in the winter time, for the people that live here permanently.
I will agree with you in regards to that. Just that if you're looking at more of a healthy social communities, we certainly need to support them. And they have very, very little support, really.
Okay, Councillor, I've made note of that, and we'll come back to any of the ones where there seems to be some interest in council having a bit more dialogue on, just as we wrap up. So I made note of that one.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last common theme is housing and employment. By far, we heard this one the loudest, no matter where or who we spoke to. So with that, developing a seniors at home plan. We heard a lot about this, whether it's some sort of strategy to help seniors get about, get perhaps things like groceries, those sorts of things. So developing a strategy there. And there are some pretty good examples out there of municipalities who develop strategies along the way. So there'd be stuff to draw on and see what fits best for South Algonquin. Transition from the Nipissing long-term care, and this, we understand there's some headway being made on this, but it's 110,000 or so per year being invested in that. And we understand that Brian and others are trying to move forward in this. Keeping this on the radar as a strategic objective, I think would be a good one, just based on the information we received during the interviews. Implementing a local housing strategy, so more lots, more homes, and perhaps building on the work done by Nipissing's strategy, but trying to find something that works for South Algonquin. And I think this is really what's important, is what are the strategies when you drill down to the local level in South Algonquin that would be most helpful. Developing a temporary housing strategy for migrant workers, also identified as an important one, and could, in all probability, be rolled up into the overall housing strategy. Identify short-term accommodations for EMS. We heard about it's difficult to have the people in the community, and if there was a place where they could stay, that might be helpful. Again, this could also be dovetailed into the overall housing strategy. Implementing an economic development tourism strategy tailored specifically for South Algonquin. And we say tailored specifically for South Algonquin because we did hear a lot, both from staff and council, about the concern of maintaining this safe small town feel, but at the same time recognizing that some economic development or tourism could be helpful in bringing more homes to the community. So, you know, making sure you walk that line, that comfort level that council has about what strategies it puts in place. Identifying potential business opportunities with the lumber industry. This could be furniture, fiber, cogeneration. See this in a few other municipalities where there have been some symbiotic relationships, if you will, between one industry and others that come in behind them. So there may be something there to do. As part of your service delivery review, identify and implement tools to assist with the housing and economic development strategies. There are a lot of statutory tools out there that you could leverage that would be helpful in achieving your housing and economic development goals. David, do you want to mention one or two of them?
Yeah, the community improvement plan is an excellent tool that would potentially help both housing and economic development strategies, where you can identify various nodes within the municipality that have the potential to receive grants or tax breaks as identified by council. So council's still in control of what projects they would see as candidates for some tax relief. And this could be around industry as an example, which would hopefully bring in more young people and more employment. It's an industry you don't have now. There's no tax base from it now. So if you can get an industry and give them a tax break for 10 years, maybe pay 50% of the taxes as an example, that would get them established and work for the benefit of both the municipality and any potential industry or commercial enterprise that may be looking to work up in South Algonquin's area. The other example would be tax ratios. As part of our data mining, we looked at tax ratios of South Algonquin and a lot of the neighboring municipalities in Northern Ontario, and certainly South Algonquin's tax ratios for commercial and industrial are quite a bit higher than the comparators. And being a single tier community, you are in full control of those tax ratios, so that is something that you could look at as well to help stimulate some economic growth, whether it's industry or commercial growth, and multi-residential as well. Often multi-residential taxes are higher, and that is certainly a deterrent when you look at low-cost housing and apartments and so forth. So those are a couple of examples that you could look at.
So when we do our service delivery reviews, we usually do a sort of a sample calculation to show council how things could work out if there were some changes in policy around that. And there are some properties that are collecting very little to no taxes, whereas if you were to get an industry in and that industry had a higher tax ratio, you'd still be collecting more in the way of taxes. And that could also help with, for example, housing. We see that there's some tools out there that are quite beneficial. And through a service delivery review, you might be able to further drill down deeper and present some options there. So on housing and employment, are there any comments or questions from council on that?
Yeah, the biggest problem we still have with this area with the housing and employment is lack of land. Municipality doesn't own any significant vacant land, and there's not, most of the land's crown land. Our municipality.
Yeah, so we did hear that. For sure, we did hear that, and you've got some things churning in the background that will likely take a while to resolve on terms of things like land claims and whatnot. I did pursue a little further with your planning staff a little bit on, are there potential for severances on privately held lands or redevelopment opportunities? And we did see that there probably is, and it would probably be at a pace that would be more at a pace that works well with some of the feedback we heard from South Algonquin. That said, we recognize you do face some challenges with respect to availability of land. So it's a difficult walk, but we think there are still some opportunities there.
I have some overall questions. I guess I just assumed you'd go through your report and then go back and ask if there was questions.
Yep.
Can we go back to who our comparators are, or who you considered were our comparators?
Yep, we can do that. How about we do that at the end as well?
Fair enough.
Okay.
I have to apologize. There's some construction going on in the building here. I don't know why it's scheduled for the same time as a council meeting, but it is what it is. So you're gonna have to speak up a little bit. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Okay.
But I have a comment on the housing. A lot of the pressure that we, as a council, have been getting to provide housing or to come up with a solution for housing is actually for seasonal workers. So no matter what formula you come up with to provide housing for seasonal workers, what is the owner, what's the suggested solution for the owner for the 5 months a year or 6 months a year vacancy? Like, who is going to build a place to rent when it's only filled 6 months of the year? That's just, it doesn't make any economic sense at all. I think the solution for temporary workers has to be with the employer.
Yeah. And we agree. And if there was some opportunity to, on behalf of the township, to assist with that, and I'm not even suggesting that necessarily has to be financial, but there are things that municipalities can do to help people sort of get their feet on the ground and moving with something like that. That's the area that we're focusing on.
What you're saying, there is solutions. What would you suggest?
Well, I agree with you that the issue is with the employer. But could the municipality assist in facilitating the planning portion of that to sort of show how that might unfold, what the steps would need to be, and help facilitate that planning of that side of things? We see municipalities helping out with that sort of thing. Even that alone is helpful to people who don't know what they need to do, if you follow.
No, I don't follow that at all.
So you have to go through the building code process if you're going to build a building, and you have to go through the planning process should you trigger the the Planning Act requirements, and they can be very complex to navigate, and they can be very complex to understand, and they can be costly depending on what fees are. So often what you'll find is municipalities will do certain things to help them with the planning side of things to make that easier to navigate. And also there is an opportunity to waive certain fees if it helps in bringing some sort of a solution together. So you see sometimes where municipalities will say, look, we know we need this facility for migrant workers. We know it's a financial investment to you. We're going to waive the application fees associated with it or building permit fees associated with it, if that is helpful for your decision-making to go ahead with something. So there's
But
things like that.
some municipalities have 25% of the building cost in fees. That might be plausible, but in our township, I think we're far less than 1%
You're
is
low.
administration costs.
Yes, you are low.
Yeah.
It's
and it-
Ethel. It's
Yeah, go
Ethel.
Go ahead, Ethel.
Thank you. I think one of the things that we have to look at is the whole short-term rental things that are taking place in the township. We have a situation in our township, and I don't know that it's reflected anywhere. Well, we have people that are buying houses in our township. They are renting them out as Airbnbs at an exuberant rent cost. They're making money. The township is not getting a lot of that money, if anything, other than the land taxes, which are really pretty good when you compare it to other municipalities. So I think if we could end up in a situation where we can get housing and homes and have our own people buy and our own people come home, we're not going to be facing, I don't think, where we have this whole transient situation. I think what we need to be looking at is full-time jobs in this community. I know that some people in the community, as I understand, maybe working at the mill, and maybe two couples or more are trying renting a house or buying a house and doing it that way. I think that there's a whole host of things that we can look at and maybe do as a municipality in terms of housing. I agree with Councillor Florent. I don't really believe that it's up to us to provide housing for these businesses. But I think we can work together and move the yardsticks further if we can find a way to sit down and figure out a strategy that helps us all. We know the ministry's got problems in terms of housing. We know McCrae's Mills has problems in terms of housing. Bear Trail Inn has built their own housing, their own rooms at their resort. So I just wanted to say that I think there are opportunities for us to look at. These are really good suggestions, and I hope that as a council we could follow through on them. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't put in our housing and employment strategy this whole use of Airbnbs that are, renting for maybe 6 months of the year. Thanks.
That's a very good point, Madam Mayor, and certainly when we close off today, maybe we can talk about if we add another comment about short-term rental under those headings, just to make it clear. Okay, and I agree with your comments, by the way. David, I think you were going to add something there.
I just wanted to point out the sort of the interrelationship with some of what I'm hearing and economic development tourism. Certainly seasonal workers, we've heard that is an issue, and I certainly would believe it to be. But some of the solutions are related to economic development and tourism. So it's to try to diversify the municipality in terms of what businesses and industry are operating there that are more four-season, looking at four-season tourism strategies to hopefully keep some of these potential housing and hotels or temporary housing things filled up for longer periods of time will certainly help the financial part of it. So they're very interrelated, and even it goes back to out migration, the aging demographics, the young firefighter issue, housing and employment. Your biggest asset is your natural resources and your tourism potential. And I know you don't want to have that Muskoka feeling, and I get that, and I would certainly support that. But I think looking at an economic development and tourism strategy really is key to get that right fit for South Algonquin. That will help a lot of these other issues. So I just wanted that interrelationship is really important in my mind.
Yeah, and just
I agree with you, David, but unfortunately, tourism is only a couple of months of the year. We need to increase the need or the want for people to come here outside of that summer season.
Yeah,
we have snow, we have tour, we have snowmobiling, we have outdoor rinks, we have ice. We need to increase the tourism, or the tourism needs to be increased, not for camping and trailers and trails and walking, but we need to increase that tourism outside of the summer months. And I think only then can we look at people having more permanent style jobs in the tourism industry. The restaurants will remain more widely used throughout the winter months, the accommodation throughout the winter months and so forth. But at the moment, as Councillor Florence said, we're only talking about 5 months of the year. If you wander around now, the place is dying in front of our eyes, and it is only October. Come November, this place through to probably about April, May, it's Deadsville, and we need to encourage more tourism in the winter time. And I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, and that's what I was mentioning. The 4-season tourism strategy, I think, is a key component, and I agree with you 100%. There is opportunities, I think, there that can be looked at, and where South Algonquin as a municipality can participate in trying to promote them. So absolutely agree, and I think that is a key component of a lot of your other priorities. So looking at that is ultra important in my mind.
yeah, and just to close off on that, on sort of where we've been heading, we've heard some feedback from council, which is what we were hoping for, and we really appreciate hearing that. You are in the driver's seat on all of this. If you still believe that it's worthy of pursuing a strategy, those concerns of yours, for example, the last one, the 4-season, but there are others, those can be key components that must be addressed as part of that strategy as they're developed. And so you as council are 100% in the driver's seat. Okay, so we're going to move over to mission statement. The mission statement is really an affirmation of the township's core purpose, or if you put it another way, it's why we exist, or our reason for being. And the mission statement is a somewhat of a roadmap to your vision statement. So if you think about a very simple vision or mission statement, Walmart, whether you like Walmart or not, their mission statement is we save people money so they can live better. We see municipalities fall into the trap of trying to articulate every little detail, and they do a 1-paragraph mission statement. But then 6 months later, if you ask anyone what your mission statement is, they don't know. They can't remember. It's too big. It's too lengthy. So based on the feedback collected, your mission statement could include something to the effect of the following. South Algonquin provides affordable, efficient, and reliable core services to our community. Whether that's exactly the way it's worded or whether you prefer something else, we'd welcome your feedback now, Council. Is there anything there that concerns you, or are we way off base? What elements would you like to see? Does this ring true to you?
When I was talking to David, I suggested that our mission statement would be to provide essential services without anyone noticing that we are providing essential services.
The good one.
Like, kind of like being the referee in a hockey game. You're doing a really good job if nobody knows you're there.
Right. Yep. Any other feedback?
I think it sort of is right to the point. You might want to add township though.
Okay,
South Auckland Township.
sure. Okay. We'll think on that, but it seems like we're getting close there. We'll think on what we've heard there and see what we can do. On to the mission, vision statement. So when you think of a vision statement, it's more future focused. It's what you want to achieve, or what you want to be or aspire to be. One of the good ones in terms of vision statements is the Microsoft one at its founding. So if you go back, say 35, 40 years when Microsoft was just getting off the ground, their vision was to have a computer on every desk in every home. So when you think about that, nobody had a computer, and certainly home computers were not around. So their vision was to do that. So you can see that it's forward thinking. Certainly say they've succeeded at achieving their vision. That's no longer their vision anymore. They're looking further into the future now, but as an example. So based on feedback collected, your vision statement content could include South Algonquin aspires to be a safe, thriving, and vibrant community where everyone will want to live, work, visit, and invest. So we heard a lot about safe and vibrant and thriving. And we also heard about new homes, so the live part, jobs, the work part. If you're going to bring jobs, the investment part is getting an employer to come, and still having that visit piece there that you could leverage on that 4-season piece. So how does council feel about that? Any feedback or commentary on that?
I personally don't believe that the vibrant is necessary. A thriving community where everyone will want to live, work, and invest. I don't personally believe that vibrant is what people are looking for.
Okay.
That's my personal. I don't know what anybody else thinks about that. Vibrant to me is a picture of a town and a market and lots of people everywhere, and that isn't what people want to come here and live here. That they don't want that.
Okay.
They want it thriving, sure, but vibrant, I'm not sure is the correct wording.
That might include the recreation end of things and social groups.
Yes, you're right.
Full of energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah, thriving, enthusiastic community. Yeah.
Well, that's what it means. Vibrant is full of energy and enthusiasm. So we're a thriving and full of energy and enthusiastic.
Okay,
But
that might well be my ignorance on the word of vibrance then.
The other comment is that should we not be responsive to the community needs? Not quite sure how that would be put in there. But we
Okay.
are for them, right? Not for
Okay.
ourselves.
Okay.
Or-
So my question to that, and what I heard, at least what I think I heard during the interviews, and also a bit from the surveys, and even I think through David, who spoke with you, is that you are pretty responsive. So is this something you want to be, or is this something you already are and you want to maintain? Because if that's the case, it would probably better fit in your mission statement. So your vision is where you want to be in the future. If you feel you're responsive now, you probably don't want to add it here. So what are your thoughts on
That's
that?
fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. I think we just need to, I think we do strive to have the
Okay.
community needs. So, I mean, yes, that might be a mission versus vision.
Okay, let me think on that because there's a couple of other opportunities where we can work those types of wording into the body of your strat plan once we start putting some paragraphs together as well. Okay, anything else? Okay, so core values, these can be defined as what we stand for. Usually we find municipalities landing at about 5, maybe 6 core values, and they tend to be relatively similar. Like most municipalities have some aspect of someone else's core values because they do ring true at the local government level. They should include a definition though. So whatever ones you choose, they should be defined as how it relates to South Algonquin. So based on the feedback collected, the core values that could be chosen are what we heard were, and this is more than 5 or 6, so you may not wish to have them all. Teamwork, respect, integrity, or honesty. Sometimes they go hand in hand. Hard work, accountability, or accountable and transparent, fiscally responsible, and innovative. So I'd like to ask council, are there any there that you think you could dispense with, or are there any there that you think, or that aren't there that should be there?
I think you could take out the respect and the hard work. That would leave what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Any other feedback?
Respect and responsible is kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Can be.
I like the fiscally responsible. I'm not sure innovative is where a township should be.
Okay. So innovative could be in how you deliver your own services, so that you're not expending too much money doing things the old-fashioned way, if you will. And just on responsible, so in this case, what we heard was fiscally responsible. So making sure that you're managing your money in a responsible manner. But that said, we've heard that innovative, maybe not, and we've heard respect and hard work, maybe not. Anything else from council? I will. Sorry, go ahead.
It's awful not to totally disagree with Councillor Florent, but I'm a believer, and I believe that we should leave respect in there. I think as a council, we have to have respect for people in that township, our constituents. We need to have respect for our staff, and we need to have respect for ourselves. So I may be off the mark here, but I would think that other townships would incorporate the word respect. So that's just my feeling on what the members of council have said. Thank you.
Okay. I will. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
would hope that the respect part would be there, whether it's part of your core value or not. Like, I don't know if you have to state it as being part of your core value. It should always be there.
Okay, we will loop back, Councillor, just as we wrap up today, and just say, here's what we think we heard, and just give a quick poll of council to see where they're at on that. Are there any others? Okay. Land acknowledgement. We're finding that many municipalities, you started your meeting off with a land acknowledgement. Many municipalities are putting a land acknowledgement in the body of their strategic plan, not all, but some. And wanted to poll you on that. Is there any sense of a desire to put something like that in?
I think it should be in there.
Okay. Any anyone who doesn't feel it shouldn't be in there, or is this pretty much a universally accepted thing that should be in there? Okay. What we normally do, council, is we take the one that you read today and we just make it slightly worded differently because it's not the start of a meeting. But other than that, it reads essentially the way that that yours reads. So we have a few things to go over. Now it's 20 to 11. I'm in your hands totally. We're here as long as you need to be, but would council wish to have a 5-minute break?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we're good to go. I personally would like to go back to that vision statement, and I've just been thinking about it.
Okay,
I think wish to work should be replaced with they are able to work. Not everyone will want to work, but they're able to live and work, visit, and it. Everyone will be able to work there. Because lots of people want and wish to go somewhere, but they're not able because of all the restraints.
okay.
Just, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to park that as well, just and we'll go back over the list if that's okay from the start, and then we'll pause and on that one as well and come back to it.
Can I now ask some of my questions from a general standpoint
Certainly,
of
yeah.
the presentation? Great. So going back to where you gave us the survey results, just prior to that, you said that you were talking about comparators. Who were our comparators?
Sure. I'm going to change the view here. Just 1 second. So there's David does a lot of our data mining here, and what we look for is what is the data telling us. So in other words, can we find a municipality that is similar in population, perhaps similar in households or the types of services that are offered? Do you have an arena? Do you not have an arena? Libraries? We look for things that tell us that there's ability to consider them as a comparator. I will say right off the bat, there is no perfect comparator. Every municipality has their differences. So with that, I will have David perhaps answer more of these questions, but I will put it up on the screen now.
Thank you.
All right. So like I said earlier, we pull our information from a number of sources. We look at the Canada Census, the municipal financial information returns. We look at the OMPF data, and we look at municipal finance officers and other sources. And we look for things that that tell us other things, if you will. So David, you want to talk about the municipalities that we have here, and then we can walk you through what some of this data tells us.
Yeah, so what I normally do is I go to the list of municipalities in Ontario. First thing I look for is population size. You know, it's important that the demographics of the municipalities are relatively similar to be good comparators. In the case of South Algonquin, it has related to the north. It's also single tier. So then I would look to make sure that the municipalities are related to the north and are single tier. I'd also look for ones that may be similar in terms of the natural surroundings of the municipality. You can't always hit the mark on that. It's a little bit more difficult, but there's certainly consideration given to that. And then I would then go to the census, and I go to the OMPF, and I would look for other things such as households and so forth. And then I would eliminate any that I just see that are not a good fit. So in this case, and this was a very, very high level. It's not something we normally do for a strategic plan, but it was a rainy day, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and gather some data. So I landed on Kearney, Papineau, Cameron, Whitestone, Chisholm, and St. Charles. There may be some other good examples that would be a good comparator. And normally we would give council input on what they might see as a good comparator. But those are the ones we landed on, and kind of how we do it. And then we just populate the data, and then we look for red flags. In terms of what pops out that maybe we should address. And that's how we go about it. So this is just one example, the census and the OMPF. And we look at expenses, we look at unfunded liabilities, tax ratios, waste disposal, employment characteristics. We look at a variety of different things.
Would you be able to share that?
Yeah, we have all that done, so it is available, and I'm sure Michael would have no issue with it. So
Wonderful, thank you.
But just real quick, you can see, again, there's no perfect comparator, but you can see that they start to tell a story when you look at the averages. And so if you look at this particular column from the FIRs, if you look at population, it's South Algonquin in the gray here, at 1055, and the average excluding South Algonquin is 1140. So you're pretty darn close there. Here with households, you're at 1245, and the average is 1095 excluding South Algonquin. So you can see where things begin to look similar, not identical, but we can draw a lot of sort of conclusions from that. This is the level of detail, and then we get into even more detail. But when we do our service delivery reviews, we look at things like unfunded liabilities, as David was saying earlier. Where do you stand? You see you're in green here, which is a good thing. Tax ratios, this is what David was talking about earlier. Are there opportunities to make some adjustments because you are single tier? Solid waste costs, this is where we did identify certainly a difference of the service level and the costs associated with that. The average is 200, and you're sitting at 370. Employment, this is how your municipality, what goes into paying for your municipality, and the level of staff that you have and how you compare to others. And then the financial indicators, we did present that as part of our presentation. So you can see there's a lot of data there that it ends up being extremely useful during a service delivery review and an organizational review, but it's also helpful when we look at strat plans.
Yeah, I just want to caution too that data is only as good as the source you get it from. So we rely heavily on the FIRs. That's the information returns that every municipality must do. They're not always done exactly the same. So I think it's good data. It certainly, we use them to see trends and identify red flags, but then we would go into more detail to see if that isn't true, the fact. So got to be careful with data, but it's useful, but you also have to understand that sometimes the data sources might not be totally accurate. So
Absolutely, but where we sit, we don't get a lot of data, basically.
Well, and you're right, and that's where we take what we've shown you here, and then we drill down sort of a bit more and sort of interpret that for you. At the strategic plan level, it's good to have to sort of get a sense of what we heard during the interviews.
Sure.
But yeah, you're right. Most municipalities don't go to this level of analysis. You're correct.
I think the one that has leapt out of me as I'm just scanning and looking at that is the number of 65 plus in our community versus these comparators. We really do stand out there.
yes, you do. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And did it take into account, was it taken into account the proportion of seasonal people versus permanent residents?
Yes, you can really see that stand out on the number of households, where your number of household is higher than in relation to population than the other municipalities. I guess the other one would be Whitestone would be another example of, and that would be reflective of a lot of seasonal homes. So, you know, so when you look at the total expenses, you're a little bit higher than when you look at total expenses, but when you relate it to homes, you're kind of on average. So again, it's data, and it's to inform recommendations, it's to inform decision making. It's not to be used in verbatim. Well, this number says this, and we got to do that. No, it says we got to look at that and maybe delve into it a little deeper. So
You can see where this information would lend itself quite well to a service delivery review, because that's really when you're drilling down into what is it costing you versus another municipality. And there was another slide earlier when you look at a lot of our rural townships, what it comes down to is, if you can see here, roads of lane kilometers paved and unpaved. That is used a lot by us when we're looking at costs and service delivery for plowing and road maintenance. We can really get a sense of how you compare. So it's, you know, when we look at that or garbage and recycling pickup, we can start looking at the costs versus your costs and your services. So they become very helpful tools in helping inform the discussion around the services.
Thank you. I do have a couple more and I'll try to really be brief. In the survey, you had no breakdown of rent or own, correct? You
We
didn't
did,
break
yes.
that further down?
Yeah. Would you like to see that?
That would be great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that would help for the housing end of things, correct? I mean, if you're renting versus owning.
Yeah. Keeping in
you,
mind, you know, as I think one of the other counselors said, it is a survey with certain questions, but so we have here I own a vacation property in South Algonquin, almost 30% of those surveyed.
Right.
I own vacant land in South Algonquin, perhaps somebody who's planning to do something. And then we have those who actually rent or own at close to 70%.
But you didn't break that down. I mean, it's different if you rent a home versus you own a home.
No, we don't, because at the end of the day, that particular home, whether rented or paid or owned, pays the same tax. It doesn't
true.
change.
True.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about your annual reporting on the strategic plan, and do you not think that it should be done more on a quarterly basis?
You know, that's a very good point. Some of our municipalities do it quarterly. Some do it twice a year, sort of a mid-year break, if you will. Just and then the most important one, though, that we always recommend is that it happens before budget deliberations or as part of budget deliberations.
Right.
So that it can inform any budget decisions that council feels are important.
Because I would assume that you would have indicators then sort of connected with your overall action items, et cetera, and that would almost become your scorecard then?
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, in a lot of cases, municipalities will do a review of their strategic plan at the same time they do a review of the finances. So if you're doing a semi-annual review of the budget and where you are in terms of your capital projects, you can sort of roll that in with your strategic plan update at the same time. So just, you know, I think the reality is these updates take a lot of staff time. So you have to kind of find that sweet spot of when do you need to be updated and not taking away resources from doing other jobs. So, you know, I think semi-annual is probably the sweet spot for most municipalities, particularly of South Algonquin size, but certainly on a minimum, you'd want to be looking at it on an annual basis. So.
And then I just have a comment in regards to the committee of a whole. I think it would be, far more efficient. This is my first year here, and I don't believe yet we've had, well, it's been a year. And I'm not really sure if we ever have had a waste management committee meeting, things like that just end up getting dropped. So I'd be in favor of doing something more as a whole.
Yeah. And then again, on the committee of the whole, this is strictly what it's council's decision. We're not suggesting you do it necessarily, but we certainly think it's worth you looking into. To be honest, we don't get into the governance of how South Algonquin runs as part of a strategic plan, but I think it's important that you sort of balance getting input from local stakeholders and getting their input, which is very important. But understanding that as elected officials, it's really the decision making should lie with council and not necessarily at a committee level. So your model now might be working very well, and because I'm hearing that a little bit from some of council, but certainly the committee of the whole is by far the most popular model, and it can run very efficiently if it's done properly. So. And I think it's worthy of consideration, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's council's decision how they want to continue on.
I would think it would just be a little bit more efficient from a staff standpoint, where they can actually have a full month of working on things versus maybe just 2 weeks.
So, yes, that is one way that it is efficient. And it's,
How long do we
it comes down to,
get it done? That's us, not the staff.
Well, they're certainly here.
Yes, but they don't have a lot of time to do the action items or plans because they're continually making the meeting agendas, the minutes, and
Because we're skipping meetings, doesn't make it more or less efficient. We're skipping whole meetings. Like you just said, we haven't had
no.
a waste management meeting. We used to have them once a month, waste management and asset management. Why not? I don't know. See it as committees of the whole being more work, not less.
if I could be of some assistance here. My experience with committee of the whole is that it is, if it's done right, it can be pretty efficient. There are some options that council may wish to consider here. We've heard sort of differing views, and that's what this process is all about. You could consider it by way of a staff report. So you could say, look, we're going to ask for a staff report with some further details on the committee of the whole, so that we can debate it at another level. You could say you'd like to try it for a 6-month test pilot program to see if it really turns out to be the burden that it's felt it may be. You could decide to dispense with that particular action item, or you could decide to maintain it. So if it's if that any of that's of any help, so perhaps if I could just go around the room, or if I could have the clerk go around the room. Is there anybody, because I can't see everyone here, is there anybody who wants it to be completely removed? So in other words, that recommendation falls off of your strategic plan. Is there anyone who wants to be completely removed?
I don't know if we understand what you're suggesting by committee of the whole, because all of our committees consist of committees of the whole right now.
Okay.
So what you suggest, my understanding is right, what you're suggesting is we have one committee of the whole meeting per month or every second month or whatever, and we discuss every issue in the township at that meeting. Instead of having specific meetings for asset management or administration, waste management, recreation, the whole ball of wax.
That's what we're suggesting. It's the model that David and I operated under for 8 years in Arnprior, which I believe they're still operating under that one. So, David can speak from a political standpoint about it, and I can certainly speak from administrative. It was, I don't think we had any issues with it. We did it every 2 weeks. We called it council both times, but that's exactly what was going on. Some municipalities will do a committee of the whole meeting, say the first Monday of the month, and a council meeting the third Monday of the month to ratify anything from there. But that's why I'm saying you may wish to say, look, we'll consider it through a staff report, and we will do a test pilot, see how it runs for 6 months to a year, and make a decision at the end of the year if there's any concern. But I guess what I'm asking, and you're right, Councillor, the way you explained it, having sub sections in the committee of the whole is what we're talking about. One meeting, preparation for one meeting, holding one meeting, and postmortem for one meeting, and then moving on.
I just want to add to, and this is, part of looking at this, this recommendation is looking at what are the committees. I find sometimes municipalities get too many committees, and there's, it just creates a lot of work for staff just to meet all the regulatory requirements. But as an example, as part of your organization, when you look at your organization and how it's structured, you could structure your committees in a similar fashion. So you would have one committee for finance and administration. So that's kind of the internal workings of the municipality. You would have another committee that would be for operations. So that would cover your fire department, your public works, and so forth. And then you would have another committee that could look after recreation, community services, that type of thing. So you'd have 3 committees that would operate under the committee of the whole, and you would, with 6 councillors, you'd have a chair and a co-chair on that committee. And then they would bring work, work with their staff member that's on the org side to create the staff reports and the committee reports that would go to the committee of the whole. So that's an example of how it might work. So if you're a recreation, as an example, and you would sit with the person that looks after recreation or economic development as your staff member that would be assigned to that committee. If you're operations, you would have your public works supervisor that would be part of the team on that committee. And if you're in finance and administration, you would work with the deputy or the clerk or the treasurer. So that's an example of how it might work. There's many others, but just to give you a little bit more context of how it might be set up.
Well, to give you some further context, you just suggested 3 meetings. Right now, we've been sitting 2 hours in one meeting. So if all the meetings go an equal number of an equal time, we're now talking about a 6-hour meeting. Instead, as opposed to having 2 separate meetings a month, each one with a couple hours. I just don't see the efficiencies here. To me, it's counterproductive.
So let me just add one last part to David's, and then we'll poll council. As I said, we did operate under that scenario. We in Arnprior, and actually another municipality I worked for.
Arnprior is a 2-tier system. It's not the same at all.
It doesn't change anything in terms of the decisions the council has to make.
Absolutely.
The fact that there's an upper tier doesn't really change anything.
Of course it does.
I'm afraid it doesn't, but I like what I'll say is I've worked in single tiers as well, and they work under the same. It's up to you though. Like I'm not trying to argue with it. I'm just trying to say that it can work. So I'd like to ask council, do you wish us to remove that recommendation?
I don't care what you recommend. What council does doesn't really matter on what you recommend.
Well, I think it's not our recommendation. What I'm saying is it's been recommended to us to be put into the strategic plan, but it's yours to own. So if you don't want it, then don't put it in.
I don't think it should be there.
Can we go around the room? Do you think we should leave things as they are, or do you think we should change our meetings?
I think we should change our meetings. That's obvious, because we haven't had a waste management meeting in this term of council.
Okay, so
But that's a
changed,
staff problem. That's not a council problem.
changed, but not to what they've gone.
That's right.
Councillor Kuyak?
I would like to have more information on how that works. And do a trial if that's what it is, because let's face it, Joe just said it, I said it earlier. We haven't had committee meetings in a year. And I don't, not sure how effective we are.
Thank you.
I'm in the same position.
Okay. Same. So we'll trial it for 6 months. Is that the consensus here? And if we don't like it, we'll go back to where we were. But ensuring that we do actually have meetings.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, council. And we'll revisit the wording to make sure that it's clear that it's a test pilot and to make sure that that's very clear.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. You weren't round the table, Mayor Valley, and I forgot to ask your opinion there. Can I include your opinion there? Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Thank you. Can we have your opinion, please?
Technology and me just don't get along. I'm on my phone now. The computer, the battery went dead. Anyway, I'd like to try this for 6 months. I think
Thank you.
we're all trying to do the same thing here. We'll get there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The recreation services, there was a comment about how the committees sort of do their own fundraising and almost operating on their own. And should there be more there, I guess, in the way of a condition under the service delivery? If I could have that counselor just sort of walk us through that again, and we can see if there's wording that council wishes us to consider adding into it.
Gosh, that was me. I just believe that our recreation committees are working very, very hard and not particularly getting the support that maybe they need. I'm not part of the recreation committee, and maybe I turn that over to the two councillors that do go along. Is that something you agree with? We're not getting the support needed?
I agree with that statement, yes, but our recreation committees in this township aren't the same as the other committees. They're made up mostly of volunteers with one, or in what right now there's two councillors on one of the committees or advisory role to the committees. Actually, the recreation committee that I'm on, I'm not a voting member of the committee. I'm just there as a liaison between council and the committee. The committee essentially is made up of volunteers, of lay people in the community.
Do you believe more support from council is required?
Support how, like financially or?
Financially or hours in kind to do various things, I think.
I don't know, like the two committees operate a little bit differently. The recreation committee in Madawaska, the one that I'm familiar with, seems to work very well. I don't know if it, and maybe council could be a little more cooperative with some of the suggestions that seem to fall off the table.
That was what I was getting at.
Yeah.
So just from the other committee that I do represent, I think what they do is they provide what they can, and they do minimal fundraising. And what they do is to pay for either what they're providing from that fun day to maybe having some access to do some more. So they don't want to take on any kind of huge fundraiser to help assist, whether or not it's infrastructure or maintenance of the building, etc. They don't feel that that's their role. And so, yes, I believe there could be more financial assistance. We as a township has never put a lot of money into the rec committees in general. And I believe there could be some more support. Most communities would have a recreation person, even if it was just part-time, to get programs up and running. And that's what these committees try to do.
That's where I was going with that.
And for an example, the Christmas tree, how do we as volunteers get a Christmas tree planted or stand it up so we can decorate it?
Ask Richard Shelley, he did it for 20
I
years.
know, I know.
But that's the thing, that the onus was, and we found that out, the onus was put on nobody. Like the rec committee doesn't do the beautification or the holiday decorating, that they feel isn't them. So if you look at it, well, who is it? And then if nobody steps up, as in Richie Shala for years, if nobody steps up, then nothing gets done.
It's done in Austin.
That's great. That's Madawaska. And so those are the things that have come up in the last year within that one small part of the rec committee.
So I'll poll council in a moment, or if the deputy mayor could do that. Some form of review of support mechanisms that could be offered to the recreation committees, something along that lines, whether financial or otherwise.
Mela Valley?
Yeah, so I'd be in favor of that. I think that we have to take a look at it. I think that, I think that we need to know who's going to do these things, when they might be done, and if there's assistance that's needed, then we have to find a way and provide that assistance. I think that, the committee in Madawaska is doing well. But I also think that what we have here in Whitney is a committee that doesn't have the same structure, the same way that they meet and do things. So I think we have to recognize that right from the start, that we have two recreation committees, but they may or may not be operating the same. So I think we, as a council, should get that clarified and figure out once and for all who is doing these things. I think the days of the Richard Shallows and the Frank Kwiaks and all of those people that always did those things may be quickly coming to an end. So, last year we've seen Joan and Lori out there doing this stuff, and thank you very, very much. But
Sweet weeks post MI, mind you. Yeah.
So, thank you very, very much. I think we do, as a council, I think we have to step up to the plate here.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The sort of thing when I versed this originally, I know the Recreation Committee, for example, in Madawaska, want a walking trail along a spit of land. They say they want it, they want to go ahead with it, and yet as a council, we're not supporting to put that in place. We want to, they want to do other activities, and we're not supporting what their wishes are as well. And their wishes are coming from volunteers for the good of the people living in the area. So I think we are lacking here with supporting our people that are prepared to stand up voluntarily to try and do something for rec. And I think as a township, I don't think we're supporting them in the correct way.
Okay,
One example would be to, and I don't know whether you have terms of reference for the committees, but sitting down with the two committees and developing a good terms of reference for those committees, so they know exactly what everyone's responsible for, what council's responsible for, what staff are responsible for, what the volunteers are responsible for, and kind of how it's going to work. So sort of re-looking at the terms of reference of those committees might be a helpful exercise.
Agreed.
okay. We'll see what we can do to come up with something. I just want to make sure this is the will of the rest of council as well. There's nobody opposed to this. Okay. All right. The mayor had a comment about short-term rentals being a concern, the transient nature. Would you like to see us add another comment in that sort of cluster of action items that would say pursue opportunities to address transient vacation housing? There are approaches that can be taken, and there's municipalities who've done that. Would you like us to add that to that?
I would.
Could we, is the rest of council interested in that as well?
The other thing, can I just add one more thing?
Please go ahead, Ethel.
So I just want to add one more thing to that. We now are getting into a situation where we're having people come, not only to me, but I think other members of council, about violence that's taken place on, as a council. Violence has no place in this municipality. And I feel very strongly that we've got to find a way, whether, it's sometimes just not as easy to call 911 in this municipality either. So I think we have to really look at this. I know we've got a housing needs assessment being done, a quick short-term look at that, rental at that. But I'd like to pursue ways that is economical to this township of addressing this whole issue. And I want to put on record that I am not against someone in our municipalities that may have an Airbnb that they put up for a bit to pay some of the costs or taxes or whatever. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the people that are coming here, buying, and then renting these out. And I think that the other thing that has to be looked at, these are not at affordable prices in most cases. And I think that whole issue has got to be given this council's attention.
Thank you. And this is where our short-term rental policy needs to be looked at, and we need to get that into our strategic plan. And I think we do have it there initially, but I think it is quite important that we address this. There are townships out there that have completely banned all short-term rentals completely. And I hear from you, Mayor, that you don't want to see that happen, but I think we need to put some policy in place so that there is some regulation to address, hopefully, some of our rental issues. Is that what I'm hearing from the rest of council?
I have to declare
Yes.
pecuniary interest.
Myself as well, Councilor Pijon.
Do you believe it should be in our strategic plan to address this?
We have to address it. There's no argument about that, but I don't know if it belongs in the strategic plan.
That's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I'm not sure it should be in our strategic plan. Is what I'm hearing from the rest of the council here. Yes, we've got to put a policy together, but we don't believe it should be in strategic planning.
Okay.
That would be like a bylaw, right?
Yes.
We need to pass it.
Yeah, and just to comment, we already have a recommendation in the look at short-term housing, which the Airbnbs kind of fall under that as well. So
Yes.
kind of in there already. I just wanted to add a comment that there's many municipalities that are very similar to South Algonquin that are putting policies in place around Airbnbs. And it's just the municipal practice of borrowing somebody else's ideas to come up with your own is certainly something you can look into. We have 2 or 3 other clients that have very similar issues with Airbnbs that are looking into them as well. So it's not unique to South Algonquin. So there may be ideas out there that are fairly ready available to use and use for yourselves. So.
Thank you. Why reinvent the wheel?
There's another phenomenon that I've become aware of just in relation to housing is, I'm not sure in Whitney, but in Madawaska, I did a little personal survey. And there's an extraordinary amount of houses that are used for only a very short period in the year. And the rest of the year, they remain vacant. Like properties that have been maybe left to children and the parents have passed away and the children live in the city somewhere else and they only come home for a few weeks of the year. And the rest of the year, the place is vacant. Now, I'm not offering a solution for that. I have no idea what, but there's a lot of housing out there that's just not available for rent of any kind. And it's sitting essentially vacant for 11 months of the year.
There is an opportunity for a vacancy policy. Many municipalities choose to go that route. They require municipalities who owners who have a vacant parcel. They must be identified, and there is a fee imposed upon them for that. And it's often used for when a house starts to go or a facility starts to go downhill because nobody's there, and the maintenance isn't there and what have you. And it's also used to sort of bump people to either sell it or occupy it. That is an option. That's a tool that's there and is available to municipalities.
I don't really think I would be in favor of penalizing people because they're not living there, but it's just, I just only mention it because I was kind of shocked when I drove around and took a personal survey of how many houses there were in that situation. There's, I think, 3 or 4 just on the street that I live in.
Okay.
One thing, Michael, do we want to relook at looking at land availability as an action item? I came up in our conversations earlier, and I certainly heard it in my interviews with council. It's not on the list now, but it came up again today. There may be an exercise that would be beneficial to look in terms of trying to free up some land for development. I know there's challenges there, but and you identify your challenges and you look for ways to overcome them. So is there any appetite for putting something related to looking at land availability and the availability of getting it ready or available for development?
So that we'd be happy to put that in, council, if you'd like. We did, as I said, we did speak with your staff, your planning staff, about that, where there are opportunities. I guess one of the other areas where you can address that is through your official plan review too. And I know you're deep into that now, but we can certainly do a land inventory review, even if it's done at the staff level. It's a doable thing. If you'd like to see that, we'd be happy to add something along that lines.
And to give you some examples, looking at, you have very limited municipally owned land, but there's opportunity maybe to repurpose that land and look at the highest and best use of it. Like the ball diamonds in Whitney, as an example, could maybe be relocated, and that would open up potential land for development. looking at the geotechnical, as a municipality, you're in charge of the planning process. So looking at geotechnical studies to reduce the size of the lots that are necessary for development. I know you have a very high requirement now. If I remember correctly, Brian mentioned 4 acres or something like that. But through geotechnical studies that have been done by the municipality on identified pieces of land, you might be able to reduce those land requirements down. So there's things that can be done. So I just, I just wanted just see if you thought that maybe something to that effect would be included in the strategic plan.
It's excellent. I think it would be very important that we could and should put it in, even though it's part of our official plan. I think if we have a strategic plan going out and we've had public review on this, I think that it's important to look at. I think it's important to say in our strategy plan that we are probably one of the municipalities that's going to be affected with this land claim. And I think we have to put that front and center. And then we have to look at ways, because it's been asked, of reducing the amount of acreage or amount of feet you need in order to subdivide. So I think that it would be a good exercise. It would certainly, in my view, benefit this township to do that.
Is council in general agreement with something along that lines?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll make sure we have something in there that's helpful. Okay, the last 2 or 3.
Interrupt?
Sure.
Okay, great. It's it's Councillor Kuyak. Thank you so much. I am going to have to leave. I have a plane to catch.
Okay.
I thank you for all that you've done. I think you've laid a good foundation for us to work with to develop some of those action items. And I look forward to having the final one in my hand whenever.
Thank you.
Have a good trip.
Yes, will do. See you on whenever. I won't be attending the council meeting. So, sorry.
Stay safe, have fun.
Will do.
Okay, council, we were really down to sort of the mission statement. There was some very fine wordsmithing there in the vision statement. If you recall, there was adding the word township in, and I suppose that could be in both mission and vision if you'd like, if that's your desire. There was some very fine sort of distinction between essential services and core services, which were there. Certainly things we can make adjustments to. Is there anything else that council would like us to change at all in vision or mission? Or are we generally comfortable with, based on the feedback we've heard so far?
I'm okay with it. I don't really see the distinction between core and primary. I think it's the same thing.
Right. Okay. Any other feedback, council? On vision, there was a comment about able to versus want to. We can do that, of course, as well. Anything significant that you'd like to consider, or are we good with what we've heard so far?
I think consensus appears that we're happy so far.
Okay. The only last ones was hard work in core values was one that was identified for removal. And innovative was also identified for removal. Respect, there would seem to be a bit of a divide on that one. Let's talk about hard work. Is hard work in or is hard work out as far as you're concerned as a council?
I personally don't believe it's necessary, but
I don't either.
Yeah, I do.
no, consensus.
Take it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Innovate.
Mayor,
Innovate.
your thoughts.
Sorry, go ahead.
It was my suggestion with Innovate. I'm not sure how everybody else felt about that at the time.
Yeah. It's Ethel. I guess in terms of innovative, I took that, maybe it's two different kind of understandings of it. I don't, it doesn't matter to me either way. I thought innovative was that we'd be thinking forward, that we'd be thinking forward ahead, and as a township that we are innovative. So maybe I've got the wrong thinking about this. Maybe someone could clarify that.
I think what we heard anyways, and then I'll throw it out there, but what we heard was, if we're going to be successful as a township, not accepting the same way of doing things and being innovative in how we deliver our services, looking for those opportunities where we're maybe not leveraging a certain tool or approach. So that's where the innovative came from, new ways of delivering services.
I think we certainly have to be innovative to come up with a solution for the seasonal housing problem. So in that respect, it's probably good to have it in there.
Yeah, I bow to that, most definitely.
Okay.
Okay, well, consensus appears to be leave it in.
Okay. And the only other one was there seemed to be a somewhat of a divide on whether respect is in or whether it's out. So we're in your hands on that one. Where would you like to go?
I suggested that it wasn't needed, but I kind of changed my mind on that, and I think it's good to have it in there.
Everyone in agreement?
Sure.
Yeah.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, those are the things that we said we would talk about. So those are the takeaways for us to think about and do a better job for you on. If I will put up one last slide, and then we should be able to wrap up. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry.
Just when you're doing that, Michael, I just want to maybe make a couple comments now while you're getting that slide up. We gave you quite a bit today, and it's, and purposely not with a lot of notice. So by all means, with council, if you think of something that we've missed, if you think of something that you look at it again, you don't really think it belongs in the strategic plan, or if you think that we should change the wording of anything, please reach out to me. I'm available pretty much all the time, and we can certainly listen to what you've said and perhaps act on it. So by no means are we done today. In the final product, and just know that I'm available if you want to speak to me on anything we might have missed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So based on what we've heard today, we're going to start working on actually writing up the strategic plan. And that includes what we call the at a glance summary table. So that's a one-page document that council can have sort of in their binders or saved on their computer, that just sort of summarizes all of the action items in one place on one sheet. Obviously, if you want more detail, you'll go into the full strategic plan, but we include that as a helpful tool. The intent is to present it, I believe, sometime in late November, and that would be at a regular council meeting. And should there be any last minute sort of, can you just adjust this or that, there certainly will be opportunity. So this is not your last chance to look at it and say, hey, I'm just not quite comfortable, I'd like a little adjustment. And then we will finalize it for you in short order after that meeting. So that's sort of the next steps that we're at. On behalf of David and myself, we really appreciate your input today, your candor. Giving us your feedback today is really going to help us put the next steps together. And as David said, council's been sort of interfacing with David. Please do reach out with him, and the same goes for staff as well if there's anything there. But I think we've got the makings of something that should satisfy council in their coming years. Strategic plans do take a bit of time to think about. They do take a bit of time to talk about. They should happen about every 4 or 5 years. It's worth putting this level of effort that you've put in leading up to today, as well as today and what comes in November. So we really appreciate everything everyone has said today. And with that, we're complete our presentation, and look forward to seeing you again in November. And before we go, if you have any final comments or questions, please feel free.
It's Ethel.
Please go ahead, Ethel.
Well, I just want to say a very, very big heartfelt thanks to Michael and to David. I really, really appreciate getting the information in a sync order and in a timely manner. And I really, really appreciate the openness, the frankness, and the ability to be able to talk to you whenever it was necessary, or I could get, I guess, the time to do it for myself personally. But I think this is a path forward for us. I think that we've had really good discussion and dialogue today, and I just want to say that it's much, much appreciated. And I just want to say a very big, big thank you. I know this isn't an easy exercise to write up and put into a document that you have, and I think it was not so cumbersome that we couldn't read it. So just on my behalf, thank you both very, very much, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from our members of council. I'm sure that you found out that our council is open and they have questions. They will ask them, and I think that's the way we have to do business. We have to be open and frank and honest and respectful. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I think we all echo our thanks to you, the same as Mayor was saying there. Thank you very much, pair of you.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in November.
Just a couple other things. We attempt as best we can. Ultimately, council will and staff will make the final decision, but we do try to suggest timelines for some of the action items when we do the final document. And secondly, just a little bit on the at a glance page. We find that really useful because I know as a former mayor and looking at staff reports, Michael and I, when we had staff bring a report to council, it was always important that they referenced the strategic plan. Is the recommendation, staff recommendation that's being in front of council, is it part of the strategic plan? Is it part of another master plan? Is there some continuity in terms of what the priorities are when they bring a recommendation forward? So the at a glance document, a lot of staff actually laminated that document and pinned it on the wall in their office. So it is quite a useful tool for staff and to reference. So.
Okay, thank you.
That's a sample of another one of our clients. That's just the at a glance document. It's the sort of the one to just keep you aware of what the things you said you were going to do are being done when you're at a council meeting and what have you. And someone else mentioned, how do you report? We do sample report cards as well, and we work with staff to sort of develop those so that council can be updated with a quick check on it and then more detail on a staff report. Okay, thank you very much.
All of those very useful tools for us. Thank you. Okay, let's move on.
No
Sorry.
problem. I'm okay. I just said goodbye.
Okay.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much,
I'm
guys.
still here. I'm
Thank
still
you.
here.
Okay, let's move on with the rest of our meeting this morning. Does anybody have any unfinished business that they wanted to bring up in this admin meeting we've got here?
Sorry, I was pushing the one on that and it doesn't work on that.
No. Okay, none noted. We have one element of new business here with regards to a statutory holiday policy. Can I ask you to speak about that, Councillor Foran? It was something that you brought to our attention.
Yes. I received some complaints from the public, specifically about the closure of the office on National Truth and Reconciliation Day, that there was no notice. It really wasn't that there was no notice, it was an incorrect notice. The notice said that as usual, the office would be closed on Truth and Reconciliation Day. Well, Truth and Reconciliation Day was on a Saturday. As far as I know, this office is never open on Saturday, but it was closed on Friday, the day before the holiday. And it's scheduled to be closed again on the Monday, 2 days after Remembrance Day. There's a big difference between stat holidays and stat paid holidays. Our employees get paid for 13 holidays a year, 13 stat holidays a year. The province of Ontario employees only get paid for 9. There's another 4 holidays there that you can offer time off. Employees can offer time off, but they don't have to compensate you for them. And those 4 holidays are Easter Monday, the August long weekend, National Truth and Reconciliation Day, and Remembrance Day. In the past, it was pointed out to me that when any of those holidays, and the only 2 that could possibly not be in a work day, was National Truth and Reconciliation Day and Remembrance Day, because they are calendar days, not a Monday or an otherwise always on the same day of the year, like Christmas Day is always on the 25th, and Boxing Day is always on the 26th. But in the past, it's been pointed out to me that when those 2 holidays, and there's no really history with National Truth and Reconciliation Day because it's very recent holiday. But it was pointed out that when Remembrance Day was on a Saturday or Sunday, there was no alternate day off. And I really don't think there should be. Especially, even if it was on Friday, I maybe wouldn't have as much problem with it, but I really do have a problem with having the Monday off 2 days after the holiday. I think we're more than liberal with having 13, like paying 13 holidays a year, and it's kind of milking the system a bit when the holiday happens to be on a Saturday or Sunday, so you take the Friday or the Monday off instead. Yeah, we have to remember that 99% of the people that are paying the taxes to pay employees for those days off have to work those days in order to pay their taxes.
Okay, thank you. I hear what you're saying. What does the rest of council think about that?
Who does have a
We're-
point? Definitely has a point.
Council, can I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Okay, Council Floyd, you got the same concern that I got in writing from the same person, I think. One of them. My concern is this. I've looked at this based on what came through, and this was apparently agreed to back in 2021, not with this new council. And yes, we as a council have the right to determine statutory holidays. I don't know whether your concern is that you don't want them to have these holidays, or whether your concern is if it's on a Saturday, they take Friday off and not Monday. Or if it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, they take Friday or Monday. My understanding is that in terms of the Truth and Reconciliation Day, I think it's maybe 6 years or something before that might happen again. So I'm a little, I don't really understand. I don't know whether you want to take away these days or whether you want, as a council, to be able to say, if the holiday's on a Saturday, you take Monday. If the holiday's on, if the holiday's on a Saturday, you will take Friday. If the holiday's on a Sunday, you will take Monday. Or if you're saying if the holiday's on a Saturday or Sunday, then you won't get them. So maybe you could clarify what you want here, because that's where I'm having a problem.
Primarily, putting it on the table for discussion and to to ensure that staff realizes that somebody else is working so that they can have a day off. Because it's the taxpayers that are paying for this. I personally, I don't think that National Truth and Reconciliation or Remembrance Day, when it's on a weekend, should be compensated at all. Monday to Friday, sure, I'm okay with that. But the second thing is that it has, if the office is going to be closed, it has to be posted that it's going to be closed. And that didn't happen on National Truth and Reconciliation Day. It said it was going to be closed on National Truth and Reconciliation Day, which was a Saturday.
So that the proper notice didn't go out that the office was going to be closed on Friday.
Yeah, that's part of my point, yes.
Okay, so can I ask the CEO here, Brian, was that posted or not? Because I can't remember.
Joe claims it was posted, but it was posted incorrectly, if I'm not wrong. Is that what you're saying, Joe?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay, well, Tracy, would you know what that notice had on it when it was posted? Because obviously, one of the girls in the office would have posted that.
It was posted, it came from, I believe it was a, write up from Merrill Valley. And that's what went on Facebook. There was signs posted on the door here. But it went directly, the whatever.
I'm talking about the notice on Facebook.
Right.
Oh,
I
so
didn't
that was,
put it on Facebook.
that was your public comment, Ethel, regarding it, I believe is what they're speaking of.
And on
Oh.
the website.
It was my understanding that Remembrance Day became a holiday to allow people to respectively remember. And I do believe that National Truth and Reconciliation should be a holiday or a day when you can actually do that truth and reconciliation, acknowledge that. But I also agree that if that is at the weekend, I don't believe you should be given a day off to do that at another time. It has to happen on the 11th of November, and it has to happen on the 30th of September. And those are the days that have been put aside. So my personal thoughts are that for those to actually occur, they have to happen on the days that they've been sent. And there shouldn't be a holiday to do those, reconciliate and remember any other time. That's my personal thoughts on
It just
that.
gets confusing because federal government doesn't get family day off.
Right.
They have to work that. Provincial gets it off.
Actually, Boxing Day is only a province of Ontario holiday as well.
Yeah. And same with Easter Monday.
Easter Monday is not a paid holiday, not a statutory paid holiday.
Okay, I'm going to talk, can I ask the CEO another question, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so are these stat holidays, not holiday, are these stat holidays, holidays that have agreed to by the council, that these holidays would be given days off? Is that not part of this policy? And if there's a change in this policy to, if those holidays start, come on a Saturday and Sunday, then are we not taking away the 2 stat holidays that we already agreed to?
Yeah, so the wording in the policy that was passed by council in 2021 states holiday, not a normal working work day, that an alternate day is given in lieu of that day. Can council amend this policy? Absolutely. If they choose to remove it, they can choose to remove it, or manage this policy, have us rewrite the policy however council chooses. But the wording of the policy from 2021 was that if any holiday falls on anything other than a work, Christmas is a good example, it'll fall on a Saturday sometimes, that you get an alternate day for it, and that's the language in it. But certainly that can be amended should council desire that.
Okay, so that is an agreement that's been agreed to in 2021. So my view, my understanding of this is, if, yes, as a council, we have a right to change it. I am not in favor of taking away anything that's been agreed to by council back in 2021. And I'm not going to get into the merits and non-merits of Truth and Reconciliation Day and Remembrance Day. I believe that we as a council should be supporting our staff. I think that this doesn't mean we don't support our staff. I'm just saying, I don't want to be seen as a council that now is going to take away holidays that have been agreed to back in 2021. So if we vote on this, I'm sorry, I'm be voting against. I think that I'm not in favor of takeaways in any agreement. So that's where I stand.
If I can counter that argument, our job as council is not to represent staff, it's to represent the taxpayers in this township. And if you're talking about taking away, we're taking away tax dollars from the ratepayers in this township. I'm not suggesting that we not pay staff for Remembrance Day or Truth and Reconciliation Day if it happens on a Monday to Friday. I don't think we have to give an alternate day off with pay.
So are you going to take away their pay from the Truth and Reconciliation Day? Or
If it happens on a Saturday or a Sunday, if it happens on a Saturday or a Sunday, yes.
Well, that's even worse, Councillor Florence.
How do you think that that's worse?
Well, I'm not going to be a mayor that now comes out in public and says, we paid our staff for Truth and Reconciliation Day. Oh, by the way, council decided that wasn't a good idea, so we're going to take away their pay for that day. That's basically what you have to do if you're going to change this policy.
Absolutely not.
No,
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Well, you tell me then what you're doing, because I don't understand.
I don't want staff to be paid
For a day when they're not.
for a day in compensation for a day that they normally wouldn't be working.
So they had a holiday on Truth and Reconciliation Day, September 30th. They're off, right?
If that's a work day, yes, they're off. And absolutely, we should pay them for that.
Okay. Okay. So is your suggestion then, Remembrance Day is on a Saturday, so that now in our policy, they have a right to have Friday or Monday off or whatever it's been decided. So then now we're going to say as a council, oh, by the way, changed their mind. They can't get an extra day off. It won't be closed on the Friday or the Monday of November 11th. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
If the holiday falls on a Saturday or a Sunday, I don't think they should be given a work day off in lieu just because the holiday fell on the weekend. If they're going to come up with a remembrance service or go and observe a Truth and Reconciliation Day on that Monday or that Friday, fine, give her, we'll pay her.
No, I stand with my decision. I guess council will make, I'm in the hands of council, but I also feel we're not, we also have a responsibility. Yes, you're right. We have a responsibility to our taxpayers. I agree with that. I think we also have a responsibility to our staff to treat them with respect and dignity. And I think by doing this, we're not.
Well, if we were going to go strictly by the Ontario code, we'd only pay them for 9 holidays a year.
Well, we're not. We've already made a decision, but you made the decision. I wasn't here back in 2021 to give the staff these holidays. Now you want to take them away.
I think a lot of times we're presented with updates and policies, and I'm probably as guilty as any other counselor, or maybe even more guilty. I just take them verbatim and I don't read them line by line. But it's pretty obvious to me that I should be reading them line by line, because I think sometimes I'm approving of things that I'm not in approval of. I'll take responsibility for that. Yes, I probably voted to approve that. Should I have? I don't think so.
I think we have a situation here where we're conflicting. We're saying basically, if they fall on a Saturday or Sunday, you're not getting another day off in lieu. If they fall Monday to Friday, sure, you have that day off. Or you can choose maybe to take another day off if that doesn't suit you. But that is a paid holiday, or the office isn't open. And this is really what we're talking about, staff in the office and the works department, etc., etc. I mean, we can't have a situation where we have no works guys operating in November, particularly. Supposing we've got snow, then the guys are going to be working, even if it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, then they would get the pay. But if it's an office person working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, or 8 to 4, whatever, I think we have a decision to make whether or not we allow those holidays to happen. My personal thoughts are, Remembrance Day to me is the 11th of November. It can be no other day, and I wouldn't expect to have a day off in lieu of that.
I don't know how many people actually have Remembrance Day on. I never in my life had Remembrance Day.
No, not many people do.
I did,
Government officials,
Monday or the
please.
Friday, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we need to put this to a vote. And this will obviously have to come up at a council meeting if we're going to vote on this.
Laurie,
And-
just, excuse me, Laurie, you said you had it off if it was Monday to Friday. But not if it was Saturday.
If it was a
Sunday,
Saturday, I would have got the Friday or the Monday.
you would have?
Yep.
Yeah, all government employees did
Yeah.
and still do.
Yeah.
Not
So-
according to the Ontario statutory holidays for 2023, and this is from the Ontario government. Download off their part of their Employees Standards Act.
It seems
Well,
like September 30th and November 11th. This is only going to happen, what, every 6 years, 5
Every
years?
6 years, yes. Every 6 years, I'm told.
Well, it'll happen
I-
twice every 7 years. So.
Well, 7, oh my God, we are getting technical, aren't we? Must be getting late in the day.
Well, there's 2 days on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, so it's twice every 7 days, every 7 years.
So Emma, what I'm hearing, and I just want to clarify, because obviously it's not consensus that the decision hasn't been made, but from what I'm understanding, it sounds that the committee may want the policy rewritten in such a manner that should Truth and Reconciliation Day or Remembrance Day land on a weekend, that an alternate day will not be given in lieu of those days for time off.
That's what I would suggest, Brian, but whether that would pass by the whole committee or not is questionable. But the very fact that we're discussing it is a win for me.
Oh my God, Joe.
So can we bring that to a council
Oh my
meeting
God.
or a vote, please?
Why are we doing this? Can I ask council why we are doing this? With the middle of everything that we're trying to deal with as a council, why are we doing this? I
Because
don't
we got
get it.
1,100 people in the community that do not get that day off with pay. That's why we're doing it.
I'm going to give you, I'm going to talk to you privately, Joe, and let you know why I think you're doing it.
Okay, let's, can I ask staff to put this as a vote at a council meeting in November, please? Is that possible?
Well, are you coming to the council meeting with a recommendation in favor from this council? Is that what we're doing? Or are we coming with a recommendation wide open to the members of council to discuss on YouTube at a council meeting?
I think we got a lot on the go to be dealing with this right now. I mean,
Well-
it's been duly noted, but,
I think that,
because I mean,
sometime before these holidays come up next year in 2024, it may come up to a vote. I'm not suggesting that we don't adhere to the policy for Remembrance Day this year. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm suggesting that it maybe needs to be reviewed.
I think it just needs to be reviewed and discussed later.
And it's duly noted because Joe's acting on a complaint. from the
Yes.
public.
Yes, I think we're asked to respond to our public and our people that voted us in. We're asked to bring their concerns to council and to discuss them. And I think we are doing just that here. And I think yes, it needs to be reviewed at a later date. Sometime in the new year. Let's put a time on that. Sometime in the new year, we need to review this policy.
And I think
Okay,
that
may I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Okay, so now you want to review this in the new year. So I want to know what we're doing for November 11th this year. Are staff getting the Friday off paid? Or are you telling? Can you
We're
clarify?
not doing anything about November the 11th this year, but it
Okay.
has been noted, there has been a complaint, we are responding to it, and we're going to look at it in the new year. But the 11th of November, it's too quick for us to do anything with regards to November. So November Remembrance Day stands as it has done in the past.
And it's a leap year next year, so it'll fall on the Monday.
Okay, thank you.
And Tracy was about to say something.
No, I was just gonna say that it's coming back, the HR policy, we wanted to bring back anyway in the new year, so maybe we
Yes.
can do all those changes at the same time.
Yes, I think that is very sensible. Thank you. Okay, are we happy to move on? Is there anything else that anybody wants to discuss in this forum? It's been rather a long meeting, but it is an HR.
Well, just imagine if we
Situation.
had to do asset management now and then a
Yes.
waste management now.
Okay, can I have someone for adjournment? Thank you, councillor Rodnick, and someone second. Thank you, councillor Sydock. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great
Thanks,
week.
everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.